Good morning. Everybody's so quiet this morning. Welcome to worship with the community of First Unitarian Church of Omaha. My name's Mary Kay Peters, and I'm your worship associate this morning. Whether you're attending online, so I want to welcome all those attending online, or here in person, I'm glad that you've chosen to be with us today. And I offer up a special welcome also to visitors. And if you are joining us online, we encourage you to say hello and chat with other online attendees. So I'm going to just take a moment right now for everybody to say hello to the people who are sitting around you this morning. All right, so this congregation is an inclusive community that listens, engages, inspires, and acts. And our mission is to foster the whole person with compassion and justice. And we're on many journeys, but together we are one church. We're a community of all ages and abilities and a rainbow of gender and sexual identities and diverse cultural and class backgrounds. And we draw from many sources of inspiration and share common liberal religious values. Whoever you may be, we welcome you to bring your whole selves into this community. And our service today will be featuring our guest, Kathleen Grant, who's here from Omaha Together One Community, to talk about some of the things that have been happening with their immigration action teams recently, and the way that it's impacting our local families, community, and jobs. And we also have a guest, saxophone, Xochitl Tornez, sorry if I got that wrong, and Judy Unger on piano. And so I just want to remind everybody that we do have a book in the back where you can put your joys and concerns, and for those online, just feel free to use the comments section, and we can lift that up in service. And also, we'll be sharing coffee and conversation together in the common room afterwards. And we also have a parking validator in the foyer for those who are parking in the garage. And so I just want to do a little land acknowledgement. And I just have some pictures from the local sunflowers are blooming on the farms right now. And last weekend was the Winnebago tribe powwow and homecoming. So I have a couple pictures of dancers and flowers. And we affirm that our church occupies the traditional treaty lands of the Omaha and Otoc, Missouri tribal nations and express our respect to the Northern Ponca, Winnebago, and Santee Sioux tribes. And please join us in giving voice to and supporting local causes, charities, and rights of Indigenous peoples, and may there always be speaking, dancing, praying, and singing in the community. And do we have just one announcement, just a reminder that this Wednesday we have some volunteers who are going to be helping provide lunch. Tuesday. Okay, sorry. Okay, they're making the sandwiches ahead of time Tuesday, so I think some people probably signed up here. I'm going to have you come make the announcement. Just in case people forgot.
Beg your pardon, folks. We are making lunches for the immigrant youth Tuesday. They're going to eat them on Wednesday, but we have to make them Tuesday. We're making them at Second Unitarian Church at 10 o'clock. If you can help make sandwiches, downstairs there'll be a place to sign in. And also if you would like to make a contribution to help defray the cost of the sandwiches and whatever else is in the lunch bag. Thank you.
Okay, and now our prelude, Paz y Libertad.
And you may or may not understand the words, but it means for all the children of the world, we want peace and freedom. No more hunger, no more war. For the old and for the sick, and no more bombs, no more genocide. Para los niños de todo el mundo, queremos paz y libertad. Para los niños de todo el mundo, queremos paz y libertad. Hambre, ya no más guerra, queremos paz en esta tierra. Queremos hambre, ya no más guerra, queremos paz en esta tierra. Paz, queremos paz y libertad en este mundo. Para los pobres y los viejitos queremos paz y libertad. Para los pobres y los viejitos queremos paz y libertad. Paz, queremos paz y libertad en este mundo. Paz y libertad en este mundo. Ya no más bombas ni radiación, no más ideas de exterminación. Ya no más bombas ni radiación, no más ideas de exterminación. Paz, queremos paz y libertad en este mundo. Paz, queremos paz y libertad en este mundo. Paz, queremos paz y libertad en este mundo.
And now we're going to be lighting our chalice, and Kira is going to come up. And the chalice is the symbol of our faith. So if everybody wants to join in the chalice lighting words while Kira lights it together. Spark of the Spirit, cupped in earth's embrace, light of love alive in all creation. As we kindle this flame, we rekindle our connection to the sacred web of life. And this is also the 5th week of our minister's sabbatical. And so I'm going to light the sabbatical candle, and we trust that it will light her way back to us come November. Oh, you did it. Sorry. Good job. Okay. Okay, and our call to worship is by Rebecca Savage. Justice is our prayer. May our time of worship and service together continue to water the budding trees of our diverse interdependence. May our time of worship give air and nourishment to the parts of our collective spirits that need to grow and thrive, that embrace equity as a known way of being. Justice is our prayer. We affirm in covenant with the beloved community that is possible. May it be so. Let us worship together. Amen and blessed be. And our opening hymn is 1060 in the teal hymnal as we sing of hope and joy, and we're just going to do verses 1 and 3. And now we have a social justice moment by Linda Parker.
Good morning. Our UU The Vote team has started thinking about how best to organize and support our social justice efforts. We will seek input from the congregation at the beginning of the church year. Today, I would like to share with you a poem written by Lawrence Ferlinghetti in 2007, 18 years ago. I feel that this poem identifies why our social justice efforts are so important now. The name of this poem is Pity the Nation. Pity the nation whose people are sheep and whose shepherds mislead them. Pity the nation whose leaders are liars, whose sages are silenced, and whose bigots haunt the airwaves. Pity the nation that raises not its voice, except to praise conquerors and to acclaim the bully as hero, and aims to rule the world by force and by torture. Pity the nation that knows no other language but its own, and no other culture but its own. Pity the nation whose breath is money and sleeps the sleep of the too well fed. Pity the nation, oh pity the people who allow their rights to erode and their freedoms to be washed away. My country, tears of thee, sweet land of liberty.
All right, thank you, Linda. Those are some big words to think about. And our community offering today, we're having a special offering for OTOC. And each week, half of the loose currency in the offering plate is donated to a local cause so more people can do more good. And so today, our Share the Plate recipient is Omaha Together One Community. It seeks to connect people across lines that tend to divide them and reminds us that democracy is not a spectator sport. Thank you for that. I feel like I recognize that from somewhere. Is it a Charlie Chaplin movie or something? Okay, and now we're going to enter the part of our service devoted to care and centering. So once again today, we're going to give everyone a couple minutes just to be sure they've either written down joys and concerns at the back, or for those who don't want to share out loud, you can place a stone into the collective chalice in the front, right underneath me, and join silently with others in the community. And those watching online can still put items to be shared in the comments, to be read aloud, and we're going to quietly sing a song, I Am Willing, by Holly Near, when Judy gets back. And I've got the words were printed out, if you pick that up, and also the words to the refrain are on the slide. Mikkel's going to come up and help me sing too. Okay, so I do have from Vic and McCall. We are finally together in the same place, surrounded by people who also love us. Vic with new joy as chief engineer at Hotel Deco, and McCall with recently passing his national certification for recreational therapy. Happy to be together, planning for the future. Yay. Congratulations. And from Lita, who asked that we please keep River in our thoughts as he starts radiation therapy for his blood disorder. So we'll do that. And Judy Unger, for our friends and neighbors who are detained in North Platte. May they have strength and hope. Amen. Okay, so if everybody wants to just sit quietly, take a deep breath, I just have a short contemplative reading. This is a summer meditation by Robert Weston. He was our minister here at First Unitarian back in the 1960s. Now blows the wind with soft, relaxing warmth. The sun beats down, the schools are out. Children swarm in the playgrounds and the streets, and eager city folk, vacation-bound, crowd the broad highways. The lakes and seashores lose their solitude, and all the world seems turned to carnival. What of ourselves? There could be now deep peace, a time for soul searching. We might turn to examine our own lives, to sort and probe our tendencies and thought, to sift the true from false in the things of doubt, the beautiful from ugliness unmarked. The sun beats down, it is a time for pause. Even the trees seem resting for a time, as if to meditate and gather strength for the more strenuous times that lie ahead. Just take a breath. Think what we have been and are and still yet have to become. And now if you just come back to the present again, Kathleen is going to come up and give her presentation.
Thank you. What a moving service. I'm so grateful I was here this morning. My name is Kathleen Grant, and I've spoken here before. It was probably maybe 8-10 years ago. It's been a long time. Talking about some of the same things I talked about 8 or 10 years ago. Can you hear me in the back? Okay. Okay. So I'm going to be wearing at least 2 hats as I speak this morning. One is about a group called OTOC, which we've already heard a tiny bit about, Omaha Together One Community. And the other hat I'm going to be wearing is with the Nebraska Alliance for Thriving, or Nebraska Alliance for Thriving Communities. They're different, but they're connected, and I'll talk a bit about that as we're going along. So the first slide is, the topic is going to be, has to do with immigration, and a little bit about recent raids, and about what OTOC's work has been over the years, and more recently with immigration, and then the formation of the Nebraska Alliance for Thriving Communities. Next slide. So a little bit about OTOC. OTOC is we might have jumped ahead an extra slide. So Omaha Together One Community is a 30-year-old organization. So it's not a new organization. It's been around for a long time. I am not a member of OTOC, but because of the congregation that I attend, St. John's in my case, is a member of OTOC, and we'd love to have First Unitarian a member of OTOC, but right now it isn't. But because of my church being involved in OTOC and being a member of OTOC, then people from our congregation and others are active in OTOC. We have about 30 member congregations and community groups. We're strictly nonpartisan, so we never endorse a candidate or a political party, but we do take on issues that emerge from our member congregations. So I think it was about 14 years ago, our Governor Heinemann and his allies decided it was a good idea to discontinue funding for prenatal care for women who were immigrants and pregnant. Does anybody besides me remember this? It was a while ago. Well, we thought that was a really bad idea on almost any level. And so within OTOC, out of that, a number of us put together what we call an action team, just working on immigration-related issues. And we've been working on issues like funding prenatal care, which we won, and other issues like that that affect immigrants for the past 14 years. So we continue to have, and obviously now it's essential that we have an immigration and refugee action team. We have a significant workforce shortage. Everybody knows that. When we were coming out of the pandemic in 2021, every place we went, there were help wanted signs. Restaurants were closed or having very cut back hours. Ranchers were having a hard time finding workers. Hotels, medical facilities, everybody was looking for workers. And so we started talking to actually business leaders who aren't necessarily natural allies of OTOC, but we were hearing from them over and over again that we had to do something because Nebraska has an aging population, a low birth rate, and we actually have the lowest, at that time in 2021, the lowest available workers per job openings in the country, the lowest in the country. So we had the worst workforce shortage in the United States. And so we thought, this is maybe an opportunity. If we can get businesses and other power players, if you will, involved in immigration, this may be a real opportunity for us. So we started meeting with people across the state. So OTOC leaders, that's what we do, we organize. We had over 100 meetings between here and the West and the Panhandle, essentially. A lot of them were on Zoom, but a lot of them were one-on-ones, individual meetings. And what we were doing was we do research and we listen. We want to hear what their concerns are, what they thought the solutions were. We were hearing that everybody had the same problem, from Omaha to Sioux City to Scottsbluff to Gearing to McCook. All of the smaller towns and larger communities were saying the same things. We have a terrible workforce shortage. In 2025, it's improved, but we're still at the bottom nationally in terms of available workers for job openings. And now, as you know, in Nebraska, we've had workers removed from their work site, and many more are now afraid to go to work. So in a state that already has a workforce shortage, people are reluctant to go to work because of fear of immigration enforcement, and we don't see a big solution in place. So after these 100 meetings and a number of small group meetings, what did we learn? Well, across the state, in every sector, whether it was agriculture, livestock, healthcare, hotels and restaurants, pharmacies, everybody was saying the same thing. We have a terrible problem, and that the really only solution is going to be changes to our immigration system. The churches, the other thing, I was actually on a Zoom meeting one day with a banker, and I'm from a farm family out in western Nebraska, and meetings with bankers don't usually go well in the world that I was raised in. And I was on screen with him, and I'd never met him before, and I was going through some of this data about workforce, and he said to me through Zoom, he said, we don't want immigrant workers here. And I went, oh gosh, my heart sunk. I thought, this is not going to go well. He said, we need immigrant families. And he went on to talk about what I know from my small town. The cafes are closing down. The schools have fewer and fewer kids. And if the schools close, how many young families are going to move to that town? The coffee shop, like where my grandpa used to go to have coffee every morning with his buddies, those were closing. Even the car repair shops were closing, which when your next town is 40 miles away and your car isn't working, you want a car repair shop that's a little closer than 40 miles away. And the long-term care facilities were closing. So people said they were having to drive 90 miles just to see their loved one who was in a care facility because the one in their own community had closed. So they needed families and workers. And next slide. And now with all the job closures, the lack of workers here, and now you may have seen that the governor is threatening to send National Guard workers or National Guardsmen to the border, which probably won't be a huge number, but if you're a small business owner in, let's just say, Chapel, Nebraska, and you have 2 employees, and both of them are enrolled in the National Guard because they want the money, then that's a big deal. So even losing people to the border on National Guard duty can be a challenge. So after our meetings, our large group meetings, our small group meetings, and individual meetings, what we've done, next slide, is put together really a coalition across the state. We're working not just for workforce issues, but also to ensure that our communities survive. Next slide. So what do we need in Nebraska in terms of workforce? Well, we need family reunification. Many families are separated because maybe just one family member came across the border. We need to have family unification. We want young people as well as adults in our communities. We need improvements to our temporary visa system. Our temporary visa system is set up for Florida citrus growers, basically. And so in Nebraska, we don't grow a lot of citrus here. We need a lot of agricultural workers within pork and cattle operations, but those aren't 9-month or 6-month crops. Those are year-round. So the ag visas, for example, don't work well here in Nebraska. We also want border governance. We want a simple, humane system at the border so that it isn't a constant chaos and uncertainty for people coming across. We want stability in our refugee programs. Many of the refugees who are coming here, for example, from Sudan would be a good example. They've been waiting in refugee camps for as long as 10 years. They've been completely vetted. They're waiting and waiting and waiting to come to the U.S. to join their families here. So we need to change those systems so it works better. Next slide. I'm talking there about my OTOC hat. Now I'm going to put on the Alliance hat, the Nebraska Alliance for Thriving Communities. What OTOC has done over the last 3 years with others across the state is put together a statewide alliance based on this workforce shortage and the needs for families to come to Nebraska. And what I'm going to show you here is as important as almost anything. The variety of groups that we have here is really remarkable. I love to say that this alliance is everyone from Nebraskans for Peace to the Cattlemen's Association. So it's extremely diverse, but the thread is common that Nebraska needs to make some significant changes in order to thrive. Let's see. And you'll see there, I think what you're seeing there, this is pretty small, but I think you're seeing a list there of the various entities that have signed on to this alliance. Next slide. And this is more to the list. So there's over 70 allies that have signed on to this alliance. And I'm coming here today hoping that First Unitarian would consider signing on to this alliance as well as joining OTOC. Next slide. Again, this is the list of groups that have signed on to this alliance. So, next slide. So now we have a situation in Nebraska and certainly in the Omaha area that is terrifying for people. People who are immigrants are almost all working. They're working in the sort of traditional work sites like the meat and poultry processing plants, but they're also working in hog operations, in long-term care facilities at University of Nebraska Medical Center. They're working in hospitals out in Scottsbluff and North Platte. Anybody here from North Platte? You know then that the healthcare system in North Platte serves an area, I think it's the size of Delaware. I mean, it's a massive healthcare system. But again, recruiting nurses, physical therapists, occupational therapists, physicians is very difficult out there, and especially when they're going to be living in diverse areas. So those are the kinds of needs we have in Nebraska. The recent workforce enforcement actions from one site alone, which you've heard of here, 76 people are in detention, most of them women, out in the North Platte area. But it has caused a ripple effect across the communities. People are afraid to go to church. They're afraid to go get groceries. They don't want to let their children go to school because they don't know what's going to happen while they're gone. So this is a huge challenge. So we're joining with Nebraska leaders across the state to work with our public officials to start moving the needle so that they see the need for not just Band-Aids, but a comprehensive immigration reform package. Next slide. So what can you do today? Well, of course, you can call your Congress people. It doesn't hurt to do that. For most of it, it's free. You can do Know Your Right. You can get Know Your Rights training. And I've got some packets here if you know people who could use these. They shouldn't be sitting here in our churches. They need to be with families. So this is a family safety plan that's available. but you can get, you yourself can get training and then train others in know your rights and family planning. You can support groups like CIRA, which used to be Immigrant Legal Center, and also Heartland Worker Center, who are providing a lot of support to immigrant groups now. And then you can do what I like to do, which is organize. We got to change things so that we don't keep coming back to this awful scenario over and over. And I don't have to come back in 10 years and we can have the same story. So I'm open to taking questions now, and then I'll be coming downstairs to have a little coffee with you if you want to speak more one-on-one, but I'm open for questions now if you'd like. Yes, hi. Well, it's interesting because I think the first signer on this alliance list that I had up here was the Exarban Foundation. Anybody know who's on the Exarban Foundation? Well, Governor Pillen is, and Senator Ricketts is. Well, they may have missed that meeting, but the Exarban Foundation signed on to our effort. We've met Mr. Pillen, as you know, is a massive hog producer, probably one of the largest hog producers in the country. So if he knows about labor shortages. I don't think it hurts to continue to make those calls. I make those calls. But I think it's more effective to organize because one voice is one voice. But the more groups we have that have signed on to these efforts, joined OTOC, or decided to become members of the Alliance, we have over 70 groups there now. More is better. And so I think those would be the action steps that I'd recommend taking, as well as supporting local efforts that are helping feed people and get them legal help. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's something called 287G agreements that police and sheriff's departments are asked to sign on so that they become essentially immigration enforcers. The Omaha Police Department has not signed a 287G. Douglas County Sheriff's Office has not signed, but we're told wants to sign. But that has to be approved, if my information is correct, by the county commissioners, and I've been told that they are not going to sign, they're not going to agree to that. So from the information that I have today, neither the sheriff nor the police departments locally have signed on to a 287G. Now, on the other hand, if they get a call about me, and let's just say I've got an outstanding warrant, and I've been picked up on an immigration, I worked at a restaurant and they decided I was undocumented. But if I have an outstanding arrest warrant for pickpocketing or whatever, then that changes the calculus. I mean, they'll hold, the county or the city will hold me as immigration enforcement unfolds. Mm-hmm. So did you hear? Okay, so So Bellevue Police are supporting ICE enforcement. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. So the first question was whether or not Omaha, I think, I interpreted Omaha police were cooperating with ICE. So my response was just that they have not signed 287G agreements, either thus far Omaha Police Department or Douglas County Sheriffs. But we have someone here who said that the Bellevue police are participating in or cooperating with ICE in terms of immigration enforcement. Yeah, I wish they, yes. There are statements made that I think are very unfortunate by probably many of our police departments. Mm-hmm. 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 So this question has to do with the fact that many wealthy people are really dependent on immigrant labor in Nebraska and nationally, and why, given that, they're complicit, if you will, in this immigration enforcement that really sticks a needle in their business model, if you will. Well, there's a person in the White House who's vindictive and will come after people. He pretty obviously does that regularly. But even prior to this presidency, there was a lot of folks sitting on their hands and not doing anything when it could have been done. Unfortunately, this is a congressional problem. This is something that should be solved by Congress, but there hasn't been the leadership or the will there, evidently, to take the lead on this and take the risk of standing up and saying we need to change this. This system is over 40 years old. And when it was last updated, there was actually something called the registry. It actually flowed there. When I was a kid, you just never heard about this stuff because there was a system in place. It's not anymore. So you're absolutely right. But I think, again, I love that Holly Near song. Hope and action is where I need to be, because I think there will be a time when more and more people, and maybe that time is now, are standing up and saying, no, we don't do this. And I think I'm getting more calls to speak like this now than I have in a long, long time. And it's not just from folks like First Unitarian, it's from other groups as well. So as more people are, the press has been pretty good on this, I think, in terms of speaking about what's going on. And I think I'm hopeful that I'm always hopeful that the ship will turn in the direction that at least I would like. Go ahead. What's Nebraska's stand? Well, Nebraska's stand on birthright. That's a federal construct that is actually enshrined in the Constitution of the United States. I haven't that anyone who's born in the United States, and there's a couple of other groups, has a right to citizenship at birth. I think it was that amendment came shortly after the Civil War, and it was largely constructed to address the children of people who'd been enslaved. So I think what your question is, but correct me if I'm wrong, if people are here without documentation that were born in another country, their children who are born in the United States are U.S. citizens, yes. The parents do not automatically get citizenship. They would have to go through the citizenship process like any other adult. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks. Two things. I'd love to talk with folks here about First Unitarian joining OTOC, Omaha Together One Community, and also being a signer on the Alliance for Thriving Nebraska. So that's both of those are offers to your congregation. Thank you. Didn't mean to do that.
Okay, and our closing hymn is number 298, and we'll do verses 1, 3, and 4. Wake now my senses, and that's in the gray hymnal. Be seated. I'd like to thank everybody who shared worship with us today, and our speaker especially. And our closing words are by Wayne Arneson. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard. The path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. But take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone.